Can you imagine living a life in the spotlight with every inch of your skin under public scrutiny, but also battling a chronic condition that you cannot hide? This is the reality for Kim Kardashian. I am so glad to see a celebrity like Kim breaking the stigma and sharing her new diagnosis. This is a moment of visibility, as you can see.
I think that I have ringworm and I don't even know what that is.
But it's also a moment of vulnerability, a moment when millions of people who suffer from this condition don't feel isolated or embarrassed anymore. In this video, I will break down what psoriasis is, why is it happening, and most importantly, how can you manage it, including some important lifestyle changes that you can start implementing today, whether you are in the public eye or not. You heard Kim's dermatologist.
Well, it's not ringworm. Chloe was off. But it's psoriasis.
But what exactly is psoriasis? Psoriasis is much more than a skin disease. It is an autoimmune disease that can affect multiple parts of the body. This disease presents as a white, shiny, thick plaques with silvery scaling that can be also red and itchy. But it doesn't affect just the skin. The inflammation can also affect your gut, your eyes, the joints, and it can cause damage at these levels too. At the skin level, psoriasis tends to affect certain areas, like the scalp, the hairline, but it can also affect the ears, behind the ears, the elbows, the knees, around the umbilical area, and also the genitals. Based on the skin appearance, the dermatologist will describe psoriasis as presenting in 4 common forms. The most common form is called chronic plaque psoriasis. And in this form, the skin looks like it's having a white, thick, silvery plaque appearing symmetrically disposed on the elbows, on the knees, and in the scalp. Another form of psoriasis is called guttate psoriasis. And this one looks like Kim's, with small, drop-like lesions, often disposed on the chest, on the arms, and on the legs. And then a more severe form is called pustular psoriasis, where there are these vesicles that appear on the skin. And the last form is called inverse psoriasis. And this one tends to affect moist area, like the armpits, the groin, under the breast, and it looks like a red and irritated rash. But do you know where psoriasis comes from in the first place? What is causing psoriasis?
When the doctor tells me I have psoriasis, I have heard of it before because my mom has always had it. But
she is right. About 40% of psoriasis patients have a family history of this disease. In Kim's case, her mom had the disease. But genetics alone doesn't explain everything.
It's not curable because you can't alter the genetics.
Because there are other triggers of psoriasis, things like stress, which is a major trigger. And given her life in the spotlight, her stress levels are very high. And stress affects the immune system, causing the onset of psoriasis, but also it can cause many flare-ups. Then another important factor is diet, because certain foods, like processed foods or sugar, increase inflammation in your gut. And then obesity. This is not Kim's case, but being overweight will increase the risk to develop the disease and cause more severe disease. Not only that, but smoking and alcohol, they both increase inflammation and they can worsen the disease. Another frequent trigger for psoriasis are infections. Certain bacterial infections like strep or viruses like HIV can trigger psoriasis. And last but not least, medications like lithium that is used for bipolar disorder, or anti-malarials, or beta blockers, and even TNF-alpha inhibitors, the medications that we use for other autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, can sometimes induce psoriasis. But is there a cure for psoriasis?
May not be curable, but it's controllable.
I love this doctor's answer. This is a responsible doctor who doesn't make false claims, doesn't offer miraculous creams or supplements only, that doesn't promise to a celebrity like Kim that he can cure her disease. Psoriasis is a lifelong autoimmune disease, meaning that it will not disappear, but with the right treatment, with the right approach, with lifestyle changes, it can be very well managed. And if you think that being a celebrity like Kim, she's gonna have a better option than you, then this is not true. Because in the last 20 to 30 years, remarkable progress has been made in understanding this disease. And here is what we learned over the last few decades. Number one, psoriasis isn't just a skin disease. It's an autoimmune disease that is driven by specific proteins that will cause inflammation, like IL-12, IL-23, or IL-17. Number two, unlike 20 to 30 years ago, when we just had steroid creams, phototherapy, and drugs like methotrexate, today we have much more advanced and targeted therapies that we call biologics. And these drugs, believe me, they change the life of people with psoriasis forever, because these drugs are targeted proteins that will block these molecules that create inflammation. And these drugs are called IL-17 inhibitors, or IL-23 inhibitors, or TNF-alpha inhibitors, and also IL-12 and 23 inhibitors. This is a combined type of medication. Have you tried any of these medications? And how did they work for you? Please leave us a comment in the bottom of this video, because I want to see your experience, and you can share your experience with others that are watching this video. But as I said in the beginning, psoriasis doesn't stop at the skin level. What about the hidden effects of this disease? Most people don't realize that psoriasis is a systemic disease, which means it can affect other organs. Yes, psoriasis can affect your eyes, causing eye inflammation or uveitis, and that can result in redness, pain, and vision changes. It can also affect your tendons, causing multiple episodes of tendinitis or dactylitis. Some people can develop swelling of one finger or one toe that we call saucy digits, and this is dactylitis. And then psoriasis can affect the joints, the hands, the wrists, the knees, and also the spine. But unlike rheumatoid arthritis that causes pain in symmetric bilateral joints like both hands or both feet, psoriatic arthritis, because that's how we call the arthritis caused by psoriasis, will affect the joints in an asymmetrical pattern. For example, you can have just a few joints affected in one hand and then a few joints in another hand, or you can have affected one ankle and then one wrist. The back pain is also common in patients with psoriatic arthritis. So if you have pain in the sacroiliac joints, in the buttock area, or if you have neck pain and stiffness, check with a rheumatologist like me. Psoriatic arthritis tends to cause a lot of stiffness in the morning, causing you to be stiff for more than an hour, but that stiffness will improve as the day goes by. But sometimes psoriatic arthritis can be very severe, and it could be quite a disabling disease. And if you want to learn more, watch my other videos in this channel about psoriatic arthritis. And now let's talk about something that many of you don't expect: your gut. Yes, patients with psoriasis experience many gut issues, but they don't even realize that the gut issues are connected with their skin disease. Did you ever thought about your abdominal pain, your nausea, diarrhea, or constipation as it is linked to your skin disease? Unfortunately, yes, the gut is also suffering because of the systemic inflammation. And in some cases, patients even develop inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, and they might develop severe symptoms like bloody diarrhea.
I mean, my career is doing ad campaigns. People don't understand the pressure on me to look perfect.
This is so important. Think about it. Kim is photographed everywhere she goes. When she has a flare-up, it's not about just a personal challenge. It's a public one. And this situation most likely resonates with all of you that have been judged for your appearance. Now let me share something from my experience working with my patients with psoriasis. This disease doesn't affect just their body. It affects their confidence and it affects their mental health. My patients, many of them, they stop wearing shorts. They avoid the gym. They avoid going to the beach. They withdraw from social activities because they feel embarrassed. And many researchers show that people with psoriasis have a higher rate for depression, for anxiety, and in some cases, even suicidal thoughts.
How crazy is my psoriasis right now, guys?
So how can you take control of your psoriasis beyond medications? your lifestyle will impact this disease big time. And this is what I teach my patients. Manage your stress, avoid drinking alcohol in excess, sleep at least 8 to 9 hours every night, and eat anti-inflammatory foods and avoid all those processed foods. Try a gluten-free diet for at least 6 months, as it could help. And eat a lot of fibers, because if you feed your gut microbiome with a lot of fibers, that will decrease the inflammation in your whole body. And now that you have learned about Kim's Kardashian journey with psoriasis, it is probably time to know even more about the best science-backed supplements that can help you get better faster. Because if you don't, you will waste a lot of money on a lot of products that have no value, and they can even hurt you. And I cover all of this in this video.